My life before, I was living with family from Ever Beach to Nanakuli to Kapolei. And it's hard when you work, when you juggling a child, because I'm a single parent, and you jump into home, because they're set in their own ways, their families. So it was kind of rough, My son was little, but I took him everywhere. Basically, he was always in our car because, I live Ever Beach. I leave like 3 o'clock in the morning with my son, and I was working at the airport. He was going Pearl Harbor Kai and Pearl Harbor Elementary. So, basically I would go to Moana or McDonald's and park over there, read paper. Have to wait till he starts school, brush his teeth in the bathroom, kind of stuff. So, but, we made it through. That's a good time, bad times. But it's different because you live by the rules of their house, so it's really, really different.
My past experience was renting with family, so that was great too. But I was living under somebody else's household, so I had to respect their rules. And you don't have as much freedom and privacy that you can have when you have your own home.
We were living with our mom, grandma, and so we needed to do something for Tyler and I. We needed to have a home of our own, and I couldn't see paying rent. And one day we were looking at the newspaper and we saw the ad for plantation apartments, and they were going to be building it, and we decided just give it a shot, see what happens, and the only thing they could tell us is no.
I had to do what needed to be done. So that was a struggle, just to try get my own place when my son started growing up. He gonna like his room and stuff like that. So I was going through his classes, and that helped, consumer credit counseling, you folks, along the way. So I called and I was talking to Becky. But Becky, she was really one auntie to me when I was over there. So, she took me in, she took me under her wings. I think Hawaii HomeOwnership, they care where you're at and in life in general. They're there. If you feel like you're falling down, you can always call them, and they're there to hear your side.
From the orientation class, where was my first introduction to Dale, and his talk about that if we're all there, we all have a similar goal. And I realized hey, I'm just like them. I work hard, and one day I hope to become a homeowner too. So I think his main point to me was that Hawaii HomeOwnership was about education, not so much about advocating any one person to work with. It was more about educating yourself on what it takes.
My financial part wasn't so good, my credit. My spending and trying to control it. And, I think that was the number one. Because you don't realize that, all that little stuff adds up. And writing it down on a piece of paper and seeing where your money going, and stuff like that. So that was the number one key, was the credit counseling that I needed help on.
Meeting with the counselor, one-on-one, I think that really helped. And looking financially where I'm at and paying off my credit card debt. It took me a year because I had signed up, with Hawaii HomeOwnership about a year ago. And so it took a while. It wasn't a couple months for me, but that was really the advice that I got from the counselor. We sat down one-on-one, and I brought all my bills in and my savings and where I wanted to go with what I had and the advice that he gave me.
You can't just give up like that, especially if you're in debt. Everybody is in debt, We live for bills. That's the way of life. That's the facts of life. So you either try to deal with it the best way you can and call call someone to talk about it, or, you know.
You just have to set a goal and say that you want to do this, and despite any obstacles that come your way, you have to keep pressing and pressing, and eventually it can become a reality if you work hard enough at it. And I think that's the biggest part, is if you want it, you can get it, and you just have to be committed and really go after your dream.
I thought American Dream would never happen to me, but you know, being that it's out there to use, they should use it as a tool for their lifestyle, you know. And I think that's important, especially when they have children involved. You know, they gotta leave something for the generations, you know. So that's what I did. I had to do it for my son and for myself. I had to leave something for my son, you know. Something that's solid. I mean, maybe I cannot put him into college, but at least he has a roof over his head, you know. So, you know, I think I made the right move because his self-esteem went up really, really high.
Of course, there's a lot of domestic things like house cleaning and the dishes and washing clothes and things, but it's the most enjoyable experience that anybody could ever have.
Maintaining the house is hard work, but living in the house is wonderful. It's wonderful.
I have that roots that I'm settling here, and I have the privacy and the freedom to do what I want, when I want, at what time of night I want. So everything is great, yeah.
We're just fortunate to come home to our own place. It's our home. It's a really nice place for us to come home to every day.
Whatever situation you may be in, you know, you just have to take that plunge. I mean, the negative always can turn around to a positive thing, but that positive thing, you're gonna have to move forward with it, not let it come to you, you know. So I think that's what it is. You have to turn it around and think the positive side.